Good afternoon, class. Thank you all for being here. I am honored to be joined, and you'll hear from many of these folks, Acting Commissioner of Health Judy Persicelli, Attorney General Gurbir Grewal, Senator and important sponsor in this arena, Senator Shirley Turner, Assembly Health and Senior Services Committee Chairman Dr. Herb Conaway, and our Commissioner of Education, Dr. Lamont Repollet. 3 weeks ago, spurred by both a surge in vaping by teens and serious vaping-related health issues and deaths nationwide and in New Jersey, and as the State Department of Health reported on Tuesday, we have experienced our first vaping-related death. I signed an executive order creating a multi-departmental electronic smoking device task force. The charge of this task force was to identify and recommend actions we can take both administratively and legislatively to protect New Jersey residents, and especially kids, from the hazards of vaping. And because of the urgency of the issue, I asked the task force to report back within 21 days. Today, I am more than pleased to receive the task force's recommendations right on time. I want to thank Judy for your chairing this task force, Gurbir, your involvement, Lamont, and so many others. And for this, I am especially pleased to welcome students on my left, stage left, from across New Jersey, who are part of Incorruptible Us, the statewide campaign through which they are highlighting for their peers the dangers of vaping. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Make no mistake, this is a report that I, nor anyone else here, intends to see placed on a shelf to collect dust. This report gives us clear direction. Within our administration, we will act quickly to implement the task force's recommendations for enhanced communication and coordination among and between state departments and agencies to determine the causes of youth usage and more fully understand the health problems associated with vaping. The Department of Health's Office of Tobacco Compliance will also immediately begin ramping up its current program of so-called compliance buys to ensure that vaping merchants are following the law, particularly the statutory mandate not to sell to individuals under the age of 21. And I'll let the Attorney General speak to the efforts of his office, but rest assured his team is also currently utilizing all available legal avenues to address this situation. Without question, I would take more forceful executive action today if I had the authority. But ultimately, many of these recommendations need to be taken up by the legislature. To that end, I am committed to working with our legislative partners, obviously, and to my immediate left, Senator Turner and Chairman Conaway, Senate President Sweeney, Speaker Coughlin, Senator Vitale, others who have been strong voices in this cause, and all members. We are all in agreement that this is an important issue worth addressing. And I would like nothing more than to see the legislature come in as soon as possible so these recommendations can be passed and put on my desk as soon as possible. What are some of those steps legislatively? First and foremost, the task force recommends a ban on the sale of flavored electronic smoking devices and products, including menthol flavor. This is important. The various flavors sold at retail stores and online are marketed to appeal to children, and we cannot ignore the fact that menthol flavors have historically been used to lure African American consumers. These practices will stop. In addition, the task force recommends restricting online sales of e-cigarettes and supplies. We already require person-to-person transactions for tobacco products. We must require the same for vaping. Thirdly, the task force report also calls for increasing the penalties against retailers who knowingly sell electronic cigarettes and vaping supplies and tobacco to an underage individual, including penalties against specific employees who do so. Next, believe it or not, and I know the young folks here know this, there are hoodies being sold with vaping mouthpieces built directly into the sweatshirt's drawstrings. and backpacks with hidden sewn-in vape systems. In short, products aimed specifically to young people to vape at school. The task force is recommending that we expressly prohibit the advertising and sale of these and other items meant to hide vaping products within some other unrelated product. Next, the task force is recommending that current laws regarding signage at vape shops and other locations where vaping supplies are sold be amended to warn at the point of sale of health risks related to electronic smoking devices and product use. Further, the report recommends we take a look at tightening the legal definitions under which these retailers are licensed, replacing the current piecemeal regulatory environment with one that is comprehensive and structured. This includes a call for the creation of a centralized registry of electronic cigarette and vaping supply retailers, a step that could greatly enhance our monitoring and enforcement efforts, as well as consideration of limiting the licenses for vaping retailers to those stores which would prohibit people younger than 21 years of age from entering. These are the task force's major recommendations, and their report includes many other items for us to consider, and I look forward to our doing so. I want New Jersey to not just react to current events, but to use these events to craft thoughtful and solid policies that will protect our residents for years to come. As in any industry, I know there are good actors who want to do what's right, and I look forward to their partnership going forward. I thank the task force again for taking on its charge without delay and for delivering a comprehensive report of achievable recommendations. But our work does not stop with this report's release. In fact, our work is only beginning. But I know that we are not alone among states in the urgency to take on this growing problem. And as with other issues, we know that we can have a greater impact when we in fact do work together. In that respect, I look forward to joining Governors Cuomo and Lamont on October 17th to look into this and other issues on a collective basis. It is now my honor and pleasure to invite up to speak the Acting Commissioner of the New Jersey Department of Health and the Chair, importantly, and Judy, you've done an extraordinary job, of the Electronic Smoking Device Task Force. Please help me welcome Judy Persicelli. Madam, nice to see you.
Good afternoon. I want to thank Governor Murphy for convening this important task force. I also want to thank the staff at the Department of Health and our sister agencies for their participation. In 3 weeks, we held 5 meetings and heard from over 200 people through written comments and public testimony. Our overriding conclusion is that electronic smoking devices pose a threat to public health, particularly the health and well-being of our youth. Our nation is struggling with unprecedented increase in serious lung injury illnesses associated with electronic cigarette devices. Over 800 individuals have been hospitalized and 16 deaths have been reported. In New Jersey, we have 32 reports under investigation and 14 confirmed or probable cases, including 1 death of an adult woman from the northern part of the state. More importantly, in New Jersey, the median age of those affected is 20 years, and our cases range in age from 15 to 51 years. The number of teens who used electronic cigarettes rose 78% in high schoolers and 48% in middle schoolers between the years 2017 and 2018, according to CDC's National Youth Tobacco Survey. They report that 1 in 4 high school students have vaped and 1 in 5 middle schoolers. The National Drug Council reported the vaping increase was the largest recorded ever for any substance In the 44 years it has tracked adolescent drug use. Young individuals use vaping products because they mistakenly believe they're harmless. For them, the flavors are a lure, as vaping liquids have been taste like candy, fruit, and ice cream. In 2008, New Jersey promulgated a law that prohibited the sale of flavored cigarettes. At that time, the law referenced public health experts who said that the existence of these products increased the incidence of tobacco use among children and concluded that flavored cigarettes led to increased tobacco use and addiction in our youth. Following our state action, the FDA banned sale of flavored cigarettes as well. That ban was motivated by the same rationale for the ban that we're recommending today. The CDC and FDA have not identified a single causative substance for the current illness. However, investigators have found that 77% of the individuals used products containing THC, most likely purchased through illicit means. However, yesterday, in a news report released in the New England Journal of Medicine, researchers at the Mayo Clinic reported that lung tissue they examined suggests damage was more likely caused by inhaling caustic chemical fumes. From a public health perspective, the bottom line remains the same. Nicotine is a chemical considered as addictive as heroin and cocaine and is harmful in any form. It appears that vaping is a causative factor both in the current lung injury illnesses and also in the youth addiction epidemic. We are recommending increased enforcement activities, and we are training more inspectors to increase the number of compliance buys to curb underage access to tobacco products. Doing all that we can to protect the safety and well-being of our youth is a public health imperative. Thank you.
Well done. Well said, Judy. Thank you, Judy. Some of those numbers take your breath away, so thank you again for your leadership on this and for those remarks. Please help me welcome another leader in our administration in this fight and in so many, Attorney General Kabir Grewal.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to start by thanking Governor Murphy for his leadership in acting swiftly to address this urgent threat to public health in New Jersey. Just 3 weeks ago, the governor announced a new electronic smoking device task force. All of us had seen those reports linking these products to several deaths across the country and hundreds of acute illnesses. And that's one of the reasons why we felt it imperative that we act quickly. But another reason that makes this particular threat to public health so alarming, as has been said already, is the number of young people that have been affected by it. Of those reported illnesses, nearly 2/3 are between the ages of 18 and 34, and 16% are under the age of 18. Many of them are still in high school, or even middle school for that matter. And at a time when we are using all the resources at our disposal in this state to fight a raging opioid epidemic that has taken thousands of lives, it's vital that we do not allow this to become the next epidemic, and for these young people to become the next generation of victims. Today, through the recommendations announced by the Electronic Smoking Device Task Force, we're pushing back against this particular epidemic. I want to be clear about one thing. The recommendations in this report are bold, and rightfully so. This report kickstarts a comprehensive state-level response to ensure that we protect the health and safety of all of our residents. And while our state government comes together to address this pressing public health crisis, we in the Department of Law and Public Safety will continue our efforts to identify violations of state law by vaping companies, to take appropriate action in those matters. I look forward to working more with Governor Murphy on this, as well as the partners standing here with me this afternoon. And I look forward to carrying out the important work outlined in the task force's report to protect the residents of our state. Thank you.
Thank you, General, for that, for those comments, and for your leadership in this and so much else. We've got two extraordinary legislators with us, and we want to hear a minute from each of them representing our two chambers today. I mentioned earlier that she is a clarion voice in this arena, but in so many others. Please help me welcome Senator Trenton's own Shirley Turner.
Good afternoon. I'd like to start by commending our governor and his administration for meeting their self-imposed 21-day deadline. So often with task forces, it takes months and sometimes years before we get a report. But they knew the importance of this issue. In fact, I knew of the importance of this issue in 2016 when I first introduced the bill which would ban flavored e-cigarette vaping. And of course, at that time, I had no idea that it was going to grow to the epidemic proportions that we see here today. But so often in government, we're a day late and a dollar short. But we cannot wait any longer, and I'm glad to see this comprehensive recommendations that the task force has put together. So I am also concerned that we're not getting the word out to our young people. Education, I think, is paramount. We need to let our young people know the harm, the danger that vaping causes, and we know what it does to adults with the epidemic that we've had in cigarette smoking. The tobacco industry now, they're trying to get their hooks into a new generation of nicotine addicts because we have succeeded over the years in helping people kick the habit. So now they have gotten their hooks into a new generation where we see so many young people are being addicted to vaping. And it's not just in our inner cities, it's also in our suburban schools. I know my grandson told me about what they do in his school, that they are vaping in the hallways, in the restrooms, and so many of the kids are addicted. They can't sit in their seat for more than 20 minutes or so before they want a pass to the bathroom so that they can satisfy that urge. So I'm just looking forward to not just the recommendations today, but I'm looking forward to putting these recommendations in place so that we can save not just our young people, but also the adults who have been addicted to vaping. Thank you.
Well said, Senator. Well said. Senator, well said, and you said it better than I, that I mentioned this earlier, our work is not done today. Our work in many respects is just beginning. Another great leader in this fight and in so many, the chairman himself is with us, Dr. Herb Conaway. Herb, come on down.
Well, we've seen this play before, and we know how it ends. Half the people who take up nicotine and smoking die from the use of these products. And we understand now that the flavors that are placed into these vaping products, these electronic cigarettes, are designed precisely to hook a generation of young people on nicotine, lifelong addiction. Now, we've lost, tragically, far too many people already. And we who have authorities need to recognize those tragedies and use that as a motivation to enact the kind of measures that have been laid before us today. We need to move as swiftly as we can to ensure, as the Senator has said and others, that we don't have another generation with a lifelong addiction to nicotine, which will kill half of them over the course of their lifetime. Now, these things happen by intention, and it's going to take the efforts of government and changing laws, bringing in regulation to face it back, to do the kind of educational work we need to do among schools, among peer counselors. Your role in this, as young people, I tell you, will be very important. When you head back to school and dealing with your peers, peer pressure is, you probably know, very important to modifying the behavior of the people around you. People stopped smoking in restaurants because people said, you know what, I want to enjoy my meal without inhaling your cigarette smoke. Social pressure is a very important thing to making change. And the pressure you will need to bring to your fellows is going to be a very important part of this fight. And so when you go back to school, when you're out recreating and enjoying time with your friends, you need to bring the message of health to your friends and say to your friends how dangerous this is. And do you know that there's nicotine in that device? Do you know that there are harmful chemicals that can take your life? You send that message, your peers will listen. We have to do the job as adults and as government and as education. We're going to have to start monitoring the bathrooms, unfortunately, because we know that child that gets up and asks for that pass to go to the bathroom, often they're doing that because they want to go get another hit of nicotine because they're already addicted at such a young age. So it's full court press. We know how this story ends, and we need to change the ending of this play. We want to fight for life. That's the job.
Thank you, Herb. Thank you, Herb, and your leadership means an awful lot here. Lamont does not have a speaking role, but nonetheless is one of the most valuable players here. He just mentioned to me that, by the way, no one in our administration through his offices comes in contact with more young people by definition as the Commissioner of Education. But he just mentioned that they are shifting their regulations to catch up with the e-cigarette reality, much as they have with tobacco over the years. So thank you, and thanks to each and every one of you. I got a couple of completely unrelated topics before we, and they are not only unrelated to vaping, they're completely unrelated to each other. So bear with me for 1 second, then we'll take a couple of questions. I want to make a very brief statement on the situation in Atlantic City. The charge to which Mayor Gilliam pleaded guilty today is, in a word, despicable. He has squandered the trust and confidence of his community and of his administration to lead that community. He must resign. Atlantic City is a strong and resilient community that is on the rise after years of stagnation. Our administration is proud of the partnership we've created through the extraordinary work of Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver, our special emissary Jim Johnson, and many others with the city to support this renewal. But this progress can only continue with leadership whose sole focus is on what he or she can do for the betterment of all residents of Atlantic City and not for themselves. Again, completely unrelated to that topic. I want to say this in particular with the Attorney General just a few feet away. I want to make a brief statement about the ongoing search for Dulce Maria Alaves, the young girl reported abducted from a park in Bridgeton 2 weeks ago, and the need for help in the investigation into her disappearance. I urge anyone with information to call the Bridgeton Police, 856-451-0033, 856-451-0033. Please allow me to be as clear as possible. We need anyone with information to step forward. Under the Attorney General's Immigrant Trust Directive, you are safe reaching out to the police without fear of any immigration consequences. I have been in contact with Bridgeton Mayor and friend Mayor Albert Kelly, and the Attorney General's office and New Jersey State Police have been working closely with the Bridgeton Police. This is about finding Dulce safe and sound, period. Bridgeton is a tight and proud community, working together in trust and in partnership. I hope and pray we can make this happen. And again, if you know something, please call the Bridgeton Police at 856-451-0033, 856-451-0033. Thank you, and let's all pray for that blessed little girl. And with that, we'll take a few questions, please.
Governor, how much confidence do you have in Council President Marty Small's ability to lead Atlantic City?
Yeah, I've got no comment on Atlantic City other than what I've just said, Nikita. The mayor has to resign, and we have to turn the page and allow all of us to focus on the entire community and the enormous progress that's being made there. We have to keep that curve going in the right direction. Please.
Governor, what could you do from the task force report? What can you do on your own without the legislature?
So, yep, we're doing, I touched a couple of these out front. I'm going to have Judy come in. There are a number of steps we can take through executive action and frankly through the offices that we have available to us in the normal run of business. Judy, you want to hit some of those?
Sure, there's a number of things we can do. First of all, I want to recognize the kids, Incorruptible Us. They put together the education program that's on our website. Many of them participated in that. And peer-to-peer information is one of, and really strengthening that is one of the best things we can do. The second thing is our compliance buys. Compliance buys are done by inspectors. We currently have 12 in the field. They did over 4,500 buys since September of last year. And that's when they go into the shops and they make sure that they're complying with all of the regulations, particularly those of dispensing and selling devices and products to underage kids. We're going to be increasing that group by 8 more, and we have 8 are in the pipeline, and 8 more are going to be hired as well. Yeah, so there'll be 16 plus the 12 that we have. So the compliance buys are going to be starting right away. We will be working in conjunction with our sister agencies to strengthen whatever penalties we can and any enforcement opportunities we may have that doesn't require either legislation or an executive action. I believe the full report will be released by the end of today.
Do you know where folks can find it? I was going to ask you. Where can they find the full report?
It will be posted on our website, and I'm looking at your staff to find out. And
Is it up already? Okay, the
Is it
report
up?
is up on our website.
it's up on the website.
Thank you.
So I direct your attention to that because it has the 15 main recommendations and then other items for further study.
That's an important point. So there are recommendations that are hard and fast and then consideration for further investigation and study. Please.
What percentage can you tell us of those controlled compliance buys where shop owners, following the rules?
Now, those compliance buys are for all tobacco products under 21. And I'm going to ask Melita to give me a percentage of those that were in penalty. Do you recall?
13% that were penalty.
13%.
David.
Governor,
I almost tripped you there.
how does the effort to implement the recommendations from this task force, how does that jibe with the effort on the part of your administration to legalize marijuana, which is often consumed by a vape, I'm told?
So I think it is entirely consistent, David, and I can understand where people might sort of have that question in the following respect. And obviously, we have right now only a medical marijuana regime in the states on this, which is a 21 and over reality, and obviously tightly and appropriately regulated. So I assume you're referring to the potential of adult use recreational. Again, I see this, I think we see this quite clearly in different buckets. Adult use marijuana, 21 and over, as this is as well statutorily, is 21 and over. And this is an explicit elimination of flavored e-cigarettes, including menthol, which is a major element of this. There's only one, to the best of my knowledge, not a user, but as the best of my knowledge, there's a marijuana flavor, and then there'd be a tobacco flavor. So I don't see there's any inconsistency here. Please.
Hi, Governor, Christine Fires here. Is there any more information that you or anybody from the task force can give on the death in New Jersey? Any more information that you guys can give?
I cannot, but Judy perhaps can. This is on the death, the one death, vaping
Well,
death.
you know, due to privacy matters, we've given you all the information that we can. It was a woman older than 25 and in northern New Jersey. But due to privacy, that's about all the information that we can give.
Thank you, Justin.
I'm curious from the commissioner how you were able to determine that it
The dispensaries for medical marijuana track all of their products specifically, and they're able to track and compare by our database those that have been affected with the illness to what they have dispensed.
Thank you, Elise.
On another topic, a Monmouth poll suggested that voters believe that you're interested more in a national profile than in being governor of New Jersey. I'm wondering,
They obviously didn't ask me. I was not one of the people they asked.
as you ascend to the Democratic Governors Association, can you allay any fears that New Jerseyans might have about your abandoning?
Yeah, I can absolutely allay any fears, and I'll be brief because I want to make sure we're staying in and around this topic today. My focus is 100% on New Jersey. I've read the lessons, good, bad, and otherwise, of other folks who tried to do other things other than focus on New Jersey. It's of no interest to me. I have no appetite for it. The DGA matters because I think it has very good positive blowback into New Jersey. It allows us to get our story out more effectively. And when our story is out, that means there's more interest in New Jersey, and that's a good thing. And secondly, you can always learn something from other folks, particularly like-minded, in my case, like-minded Democratic governors. But I promise you, I will be on guard on the bridge of the New Jersey ship, I hope, for a lot more time to come. Sir.
Governor, with regards to the vaping that's going on in the schools, are they not the devices currently banned from schools statewide? And depending upon your answer, then how are the kids able to do this? Are they sneaking them in?
Maybe Lamont, this would be a good chance to pull you in. The answer is yes, but they're sneaking them in. I
Yes,
assume,
they're
right?
banned, but our students are resourceful. There's backpacks, there's book bags, things they're bringing in. I know that the school districts throughout the state, about 625 plus, do a great job of ensuring that. However, like anything, kids can sneak stuff in. I think the governor mentioned it well. We should continue the preventive measure, have our peers continue to talk about that, and make sure that we have regulations in place to give the best guidance and the best practice for that.
Senator Turner reminds me that I mentioned the banning of one of the legislative actions that we're hoping to take is banning other products that allow the vaping equipment to be disguised. Flash drives is the one that the senator just mentioned. We have the #1 public education system in America, and as you said, that also includes probably #1 in resourcefulness, so we have to be vigilant. Michael.
At the public hearing, there were a lot of adults who were really hoping that the state wouldn't ban the flavored vapes. They said it helped them quit smoking, and that while this isn't good for kids to start, it's helpful for them as an alternative to cigarettes. So obviously that's what is now being recommended. So what do you say to them? I'm sure they're going to be instructed.
Judy, you heard this more than any of us.
Well, first of all, I have to say that the hearing was illuminating for all of us that were there, and we really appreciated the respectful manner of the people who gave testimony. They're suggesting that they have been able to get off combustible cigarettes as a result of vaping. Vaping also has nicotine in it. There's no scientific evidence to date that identifies e-cigarettes as a smoking cessation product.
To just do 1, 2, and then we'll shut it down. But I want to also, Gerbir, before we do that, real quick, you haven't asked this, but there's been there were buzz at your hearing and in the ether about black market, things migrating to black market activity. And Gerbir, do you want to comment for a second on what you're doing about that?
Sure. We're obviously taking a multi-pronged approach here. I mentioned our civil authorities. We announced 3 weeks ago that we issued 15 subpoenas to vaping companies to look at their marketing practices and to determine whether if they were targeting young people. And if they were, then they're violating our consumer protection laws. But at the same time, we are looking, and we continue to look at anyone who traffics in illegal drugs and traffics in those drugs, whether it's THC and it's sold in the black market, in bodegas, wherever it may be. Just the same way we're targeting those who deal in heroin and other drugs. So we continue our efforts on the civil side with those illegally marketing these products to young people, as well as those black market dealers who are trafficking in vaping equipment or THC cartridges or other things or any other sort of drug, period. And so we're proceeding on multiple fronts here, and both are important in stemming this epidemic.
I have to give a shout out about Gerbir. Yesterday, Gerbir and State Police Superintendent Colonel Pat Callahan represented New Jersey at the funeral of a proud Harris County, Texas law enforcement officer who was also a proud Sikh American. And God bless you and Pat for standing up and representing New Jersey so brilliantly in an awful celebration of an extraordinary life in the context of an awful tragedy. So thank you. Real quick, we'll do 1, 2, and we're up. Thank you.
Senate President Steve Sweeney has previously called for a temporary ban on the sale of vape products. Is that something that was considered? And if so, why wasn't that route taken?
So we're calling for a permanent ban, actually.
No, temporary ban on all vape sales.
Well, I'll let Judy talk about it. The real issue here is enforcing the 21 and up on vaping in one respect, which is statutorily the requirement. And the second is to slam the door on flavored product, which goes directly at hooking kids into this. I don't know that there is the evidence, and Judy referred a little bit to this earlier, of tobacco flavor vaping used by adults is not the 5-alarm fire of concern that we have. Is that fair to say? I want to thank everybody, in particular for the incorruptible us students for being here today. Thank you all. As I mentioned, we are on a journey. This is an important day, but we have a long road ahead. We're really looking forward to working with the legislature sooner than later. I can't thank Senator Turner and Assemblyman Dr. Conway for showing up today. Thanks, Lamont, Gerbir, and Judy, and all the teams here. Thank you very much.